It began in the internet's shadowed corners, a forum obscure and rarely visited, then a post titled simply Erratas. No author name, just a string of numbers. Inside, chaos, cryptic phrases, sentences that twisted back on themselves. They spoke of the silent watchers, of doors that only open inward, distorted faces melting into static, unfamiliar symbols like ancient runes corrupted by a virus. One showed a hand, fingers too long, reaching from a dark screen. Each pixel seemed to throb with a malevolent energy. It felt like a warning. Or an invitation. No one understood it, but they couldn't look away. The post spread, slowly, a digital contagion, copied and pasted, dissected on other forums. Who made it? Why? Was it art, a prank, or something else? The lack of answers was a hook. The original forum offered no clues. The original poster, silent, vanished. A chill settled over those early viewers. The cycle demands, what mistake were they witnessing? Curiosity is a powerful current. The Erratas post was a whirlpool. Online detectives emerged, the codebreakers, the pattern seekers. They called themselves seekers of errata, drawn by the unknown, the digital siren song. They filled new forums with theories, each more elaborate than the last, a hidden game, an ARG, a cult's recruitment tool. The initial excitement was palpable, a puzzle to solve.
They analyzed the text for ciphers. They reversed the audio from hidden files embedded in images, whispers, distorted, unintelligible. Or so they thought. Someone claimed to hear a name, Elias. Fear began to mingle with the thrill, a quiet dread that settled in the late hours, when monitors cast the only light.
The images were scrutinized pixel by pixel. Some saw faces in the static, not the obvious ones. Fainter, watching from the digital noise. Were they imagining it, pareidolia? Or was Erratas looking back at them? The paranoia started small, a flicker, a doubt about the security of their own screens. The mystery was no longer just a post. The first-person accounts began to surface, not theories, experiences.
I can't sleep, one user wrote. User_annex13ty. Every time I close my eyes, I see the symbols. The ones from the third image. They burn. He said he heard whispers, not from his speakers, from the walls of his apartment. His post was raw, terrified.
Another user, Shadowstalker7, shared a story. She'd been researching Erratas late one night. Her webcam light flickered on. By itself. She lived alone. No software was running. She covered it with tape. But the feeling remained. Of being observed. Catalogued. It knows I'm looking, she typed. Erratas knows my name.
The obsession was a common thread. They couldn't stop. They had to know. Sleep became a luxury. Meals were forgotten. The digital rabbit hole consumed them.
It's like a drug, admitted forum user _obsessed. I hate it, I'm scared, but I need more. The fear was contagious. Erratas was reaching out.
The psychological toll mounted, swiftly, brutally. Paranoia wasn't just a flicker anymore, it was a flame. Users described a constant sense of dread, a feeling that something terrible was about to happen. They saw patterns everywhere, in random numbers, in news headlines, in the static on an old TV. Erratas was a lens, distorting their world, making the familiar seem alien, threatening.
They started doubting each other. Who could be trusted in the forums? Was someone among them part of Erratas? Planting disinformation, leading them astray. Accusations flew, friendships fractured.
The community of seekers began to fray at the edges. Isolation amplified the fear, alone with their screens, alone with their thoughts. Some users became reclusive. They stopped going outside, they unplugged their phones. But Erratas wasn't just outside.
It felt like it was inside their heads, their homes. I found one of the symbols scratched on my door, one user claimed. No picture, just the terrified text. Was it true? Or was the paranoia manifesting physically? The obsession deepened. The unseen hand of the mystery tightened its grip.
Then user_annex13ty went silent, his profile inactive, his final post a string of incoherent symbols, the same symbols from Erratas he'd feared. Concern rippled through the forums, then alarm. Other active users also vanished. Shadowstalker7, forum user _obsessed. One day they were posting frantically, the next nothing, just an echoing digital silence. Their absence was a new kind of terror. Friends, family members, they started posting. Has anyone seen my son? My sister hasn't logged on? The mystery had crossed a terrible line. It was no longer confined to screens and whispers. People were missing. Real people. The digital dread had manifested in empty rooms, in worried calls. The forums, once hubs of excited speculation, turned somber, fearful. The game was over. The police got involved. Reluctantly at first, internet nonsense, some likely thought. But the missing persons reports were undeniable. Detectives started asking questions, visiting homes. They looked at the monitors, at the frantic notes. They saw the erratas images, the cryptic text. They were outsiders looking into a world they didn't understand, a world of digital ghosts and obsessive fear. Erratas offered no easy answers. The disappearances galvanized a core group, the most dedicated, the most resilient, or perhaps the most ensnared. They couldn't let it go. They owed it to the missing. They formed a new private collective, the Erratas Unravelers, their mission to find the truth, to find their friends, and to stop Erratas, if it could be stopped. They were few, but they were determined. Communication became paramount, and security. They abandoned public forums, too compromised, too many eyes. Encrypted chats became their sanctuary, their war room. They vetted new members carefully. Suspicion was a constant companion. Code words, safe channels, layers of digital defense. They knew Erratas, whatever it was sophisticated, perhaps even watching their attempts to organize. The paranoia was channeled into caution, into meticulous planning.
Their methods were a blend of old-school detective work and cutting-edge tech. They compiled databases of every Erratas post, every symbol, every image, cross-referencing dates, times, user activity. They delved into dark web forums, searched for traces of the original poster. Some learned to code, to trace IP addresses, to unearth deleted files, driven by a grim purpose, fueled by caffeine and fear. They were a small light in a vast, expanding darkness.
Hours bled into days, days into weeks. The Erratas Unravelers sifted through the digital detritus, and then a breakthrough, small but significant, a pattern hidden in the metadata of the Erratas images. Tiny strings of code, seemingly random. But when pieced together, they formed coordinates, not just one set, several all over the world, empty lots, abandoned buildings, remote locations. They cross-referenced these locations with the missing users. A chilling correlation emerged.
User underscore. An X13 Ti lived less than a mile from one coordinate. Shadowstalker 7 had recently searched for another, a week before she vanished. The connections were undeniable and terrifying.
Erratas wasn't just random digital noise, it was targeted. It was geographically aware. It was reaching into the physical world with chilling precision. More patterns surfaced. In the cryptic text, certain phrases, when decoded using specific ciphers found in image watermarks, revealed names. Not the names of the missing, different names. The Unravelers searched these new names. Some were historical figures, long dead, associated with obscure occult practices. Others were contemporary, a hidden network. The connections painted a disturbing picture. This was no lone hacker, no simple, twisted game. The Erratas phenomenon suggested organization, resources, a plan. The historical names hinted at a lineage, a long-standing operation, one that had adapted to the digital age, using the internet as its new hunting ground, its new temple. The Unravelers felt a profound sense of unease. They had stumbled into something far larger than they imagined.
The modern, untraceable names were more puzzling. Were they operatives, other victims, or something else entirely? Attempts to find them led to digital dead ends, firewalls, encrypted servers, data that vanished like smoke. Whoever was behind Erratas was skilled in evasion, masters of the unseen, of the untraceable. It felt like battling a phantom with global reach and terrifying capabilities.
Theories of a cult gained traction within the Unravelers' encrypted chats, a techno-cult, one that worshipped what? The shift was subtle at first. An Unraveler cipher key was analyzing a new fragment of Erratas code that had appeared on an obscure, newly created website. It was a string of numbers, seemingly random. Then cipher key froze. His blood ran cold. The numbers. They weren't random. They were the unique ID of his encrypted chat client, his private, secure client. How? Panic spread through the Unravelers' secure channel. More incidents followed, swiftly.
Another member, Logic Weaver, found a new Erratas image. A distorted room, unsettlingly familiar. It was her own study, her desk, her chair. The angle suggested a hidden camera, or something inside her network. She hadn't shared pictures of her room with anyone. Erratas was inside their perimeter. It was watching them.
The hunters had become the hunted. The lines blurred. Who was investigating whom? New Erratas posts appeared, no longer just cryptic, they seemed to mock the unravelers' efforts. One post contained a distorted audio file. When cleaned, it was a recording of their last encrypted voice chat, their strategies, their fears laid bare, the chilling realization they were part of the mystery now, characters in its narrative. The psychological pressure became immense, the remaining few pressed on. The investigation fractured. The unravelers scattered. Some tried to go to the authorities again. With new evidence, the police were sympathetic but stymied. How do you fight an enemy made of code and shadows? An enemy that leaves no fingerprints, only fear. The digital trail went cold. The servers vanished. Erratas, the entity, seemed to recede for a time. But the damage was done. The tendrils remained. Those who had touched Erratas were changed forever. They saw the world differently, through a darker filter. The internet, once a tool, a playground, now felt like a trap. Every unfamiliar email, every strange pop-up, a potential threat. The paranoia lingered, a cold spot in the soul.
They were left with unanswered questions and a haunting silence. The silence of their missing friends, the silence of the mystery that consumed them. The Erratas phenomenon became a cautionary tale, whispered in the deeper forums, a digital ghost story, a warning about the allure of the unknown, about the darkness that can hide behind a glowing screen.
Some say Erratas still exists, evolving, waiting for new seekers, new victims. Its posts, they say, still surface in forgotten corners of the web. Be careful what doors you open online.